You were finally sleeping through the night. You stopped checking your phone every 20 minutes. You laughed at something, genuinely laughed, for the first time in months. You started to feel like yourself again. Like maybe the worst of it was behind you. And then your phone lit up. Their name. And just like that, everything you built started shaking. This is not a coincidence. I need you to really hear that. The timing of a narcissist coming back has nothing to do with fate and everything to do with something far more calculated than most people realize. And once you understand what's actually happening when they show up again, not what it feels like, but what it actually is, you will never be able to unsee it. That knowledge is the thing that finally sets people free. So stay with this. Here's what nobody tells you about healing from a narcissist. Your healing is not invisible to them. Most people assume that once it's over, the narcissist has moved on, found someone new, forgotten you exist. And for a while, that might even look true from the outside. But there's something happening underneath that, something that has a name in psychology, and it explains everything. Narcissists operate on something called narcissistic supply: attention, admiration, emotional reactions, control. You were a source of that supply. And when a source goes quiet, when you stop reaching out, stop reacting, stop being emotionally available, there is an internal alarm that goes off. Not because they miss you, but because something that belonged to them is no longer within reach. Your healing reads to a narcissist as a threat, not a loss, a threat. Because you healing means you no longer need them, and a narcissist cannot tolerate the idea of someone they once controlled becoming completely indifferent to their existence. That's what the return is really about. Not love, not regret. Control that slipped, and an attempt to get it back. Has this happened to you? Did they come back right when you were finally starting to feel okay? Drop it in the comments. Hit like so this reaches someone who's going through it right now, and subscribe to Mind Blossom. We'll always have something here for you. Now here's where it gets specific, because the return never looks the same twice, but it almost always uses one of the same handful of moves, and once you can see them for what they are, they lose all their power. The first one is what's called the soft return. This is when they don't come back directly. They like an old photo. They watch every single one of your stories. They send something with no context, a meme, a song, a memory, something that requires nothing from them but plants a seed in you. Something small enough to deny if you call it out, but deliberate enough to make you wonder. Your nervous system picks it up immediately, that flutter of uncertainty, that, what does this mean? That is the entire point. They are not reaching out. They're checking if the line is still live. The second move is the full return dressed up as growth. This is the most dangerous one. This is the "I've been doing a lot of thinking" text, the "I've changed" conversation, the tears, the accountability, the version of them that looks almost exactly like the person you always wanted them to be. And here's why it works so well. Because it's not entirely fake. In that moment, they might genuinely believe what they're saying. Narcissists are not always consciously calculating. Sometimes the return comes from a real place of desperation. But desperation is not the same as change. And the pattern always reasserts itself, every single time. Because the thing that makes a narcissist is not a mood, it's a structure. And a structure doesn't transform because someone cried about it once. The third move is guilt. This one targets people who have a hard time with the idea that they might be hurting someone. The narcissist comes back wounded, fragile, struggling, and suddenly you are not the person who was hurt. You are now the person who is now potentially causing harm by staying away. This is a reversal so smooth that most people don't even notice happening until they're already inside the dynamic, wondering how they got there. Here's the thing that most survivors took years to understand, and I want to hand it to you right now, without the years. The timing is not random. Narcissists don't come back on a Tuesday in February by accident. They come back when something shifted in the energy, when you posted something that looked like you were thriving, when a mutual friend mentioned you seemed different, when they sensed, and they do sense it, this is not mystical, it's just emotional predator instinct, when they sensed that you were close to the point of no return, close to the point where getting you back would no longer be possible. Your healing is the trigger, not your pain, not your anger, not the relationship ending, your healing. Because your pain still tethered you to them emotionally. Your anger still meant they occupied space in your mind. But your healing, your genuine, quiet, starting to feel like yourself healing, that is the thing that signals the supply is about to be permanently cut off. And they come back to interrupt it. So what do you actually do with this? Because understanding it intellectually and knowing what to do when your phone lights up with their name are two completely different things. Your nervous system doesn't care what you know. It just feels what it feels. The pull is real, even when you understand exactly where it comes from. The most important thing, and I mean this, is to buy yourself time before you respond. Not to craft the perfect reply, not to protect yourself from looking weak, but because the first 24 hours after a narcissist comes back is when your nervous system is the least reliable. The activation that happens in your body when you see their name is real neurological chemistry. It is not love resurfacing, it is a trauma response firing. And decisions made inside a trauma response almost always look different in the morning. The second thing is to ask yourself not, do I still have feelings for this person, but do I trust the pattern? Because feelings are not the question. The pattern is the question. Feelings can exist without being acted on. The pattern is the thing that tells you what actually happens inside this dynamic, not what it feels like in the first 72 hours of a return,
And the
but
third
what it
thing, the
consistently
hardest one, is to let the healing continue, even when it feels disloyal to do so. Because somewhere along the way, a lot of survivors absorb the idea that moving on means the relationship didn't matter, that healing too completely is a kind of betrayal, that staying connected to the pain is a way of honoring what it was. It isn't. Healing is not forgetting. It's just finally choosing yourself with the same commitment you once gave to someone who never did the same. The return always feels like a question, like maybe this time is different, like maybe you misread things, like maybe the person you saw in them, the one underneath all the damage, was real and is finally ready. That person might have been real, but real is not the same as available, and available is not the same as safe. You don't have to hate them to protect yourself from them. You just have to see the pattern clearly enough to stop mistaking the return for the thing you actually wanted, which was never them coming back, it was them being different. And those are not the same thing. This video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional support. If you're navigating a narcissistic relationship right now, please speak to someone qualified to help. Has this happened to you? Did they come back right when you were finally starting to feel okay? Leave it in the comments. You're not the only one this has happened to, and you won't be the only one reading it either. Subscribe to Mind Blossom, a quiet place for your mind, soul, and heart.